Six Flags created a new slogan, the Gateway to Thrills, for their St. Louis park. But the problem is, this park hasn't added a new coaster that wasn't relocated since 2008. And it's clear that Six Flags has no idea on how to run this park. So let's pretend if I owned the park, this is how I would actually transform Six Flags St. Louis to better fit the new slogan, the Gateway to Thrills. I'm going to share my thoughts on the changes and new attractions that I would add if I owned the park over the next 5 years, including not 1, not 2, but 3 new roller coasters. You're going to see exactly where in the park that I would add the new rides and coasters, plus other park improvements. My name is Brandon, and welcome to my channel, Theme Park Predictions. In 2013, Six Flags St. Louis opened a Vekoma Boomerang with one of the most creative names you'll ever hear. Wait for it, Boomerang. How original. No one, including myself, had thought this would have been the last coaster that had opened at the park. Currently, Six Flags St. Louis sits on 323 acres and features 38 attractions and 9 roller coasters. But now, let's take a look at how I would change this park skyline forever. With each of my ideas, they're very thought out and as reasonable as possible, so just use your imagination a little bit and enjoy. And one last thing, if you think I should own Six Flags St. Louis or be in charge of their new rides and attractions, then give this video a like. Since we know that the park's new for 2020 attraction, Catwoman's Whip, won't open at the park now until 2022, I'm going to start the next 5 years starting off with 2023. New for 2023, RMC Boss. Finally, all of us get what we've been dreaming about for years. Boss is transformed into one of the best roller coasters not only here in America, but in the entire world. I've been riding Boss for years, and I absolutely love this layout. Yes, it's kind of rough, but that layout is just plain sexy. Now just imagine what RMC would be able to do with it. RMC Boss will grow by 20 feet, and now feature a 170-foot drop. Also, riders will experience 4 inversions and airtime galore. Plus, I would add a tunnel to part of this hybrid coaster's layout. This hybrid would instantly become the best coaster in all of Missouri. Sorry, Outlaw Run, but it's true. But that's not all what's new for 2023, because where the park's old go-kart attraction was located, and right next to the new for 2022 Catwoman Whip thrill ride, you would see a whole new themed area, plus a shorter queue for the Boss. This area would feature a new restaurant with tons of different food options, indoor dining, and 2 outdoor dining areas. A few classic Midway games to help bring in some extra revenue for the park, and finally, 2 new kid attractions and a much needed new kid coaster. At the time of this video, Six Flags St. Louis doesn't offer a kid coaster, so this would fill a major hole in the park's lineup. The new kid coaster would become a huge hit with the families, and paired next to RMC Boss would lure more people back to this new area, past all of the games and new dining options, and this would really bring in more revenue for the park. After transforming the back left corner of the park for the 2023 season, I would then turn my focus over to the bottom right corner of the park. New for 2024, Hurricane Harbor expansion. This would become the largest expansion in the history of Hurricane Harbor. Debuting this year will be a new kids area that is filled with beaches and shallow water, multiple play areas, and a few water slides that offer some kid-sized thrills. You're also going to see a brand new wave pool open at the park. This would greatly help with the capacity during those hot summer Missouri days. Next to the wave pool will be cabanas, of course, and I would also add comfortable new lounge chairs to all of Hurricane Harbor. But the main new attraction that will become the biggest, craziest, and most popular attraction at Hurricane Harbor for years to come would be a new Pro Slide Rocket Blast water coaster with 3 saucer-shaped turns. This water coaster would be much like Thunder Rapids that opened a few years ago down at Fiesta, Texas, and at the time of this video would become the first water coaster in Missouri. And if I'm wrong on that, please correct me down below in the comments. This new water coaster would be visible from anywhere in the parking lot and really do great things for Hurricane Harbor and Six Flags St. Louis. Hurricane Harbor will now become the best overall water park in the Show Me State. With RMC Boss, the new family area outside the Boss, and now this massive new Hurricane Harbor expansion, Six Flags St. Louis is now starting to become the gateway to thrills, and would have a record-breaking year attendance and profit-wise in 2024. But I'm not done yet. New for 2025, a new drop tower. In early 2021, Six Flags St. Louis quietly removed their intimate drop tower, Superman Tower of Power, which had been in operation at the park since 2006. But it first opened in 1997 as Dungeon Drop at Six Flags Astroworld, but was relocated to the park when sadly Astroworld closed forever. I've always loved this ride, especially the placement the park gave it, since the 230-foot tall drop tower was situated on the highest elevation in the park, and this really helped made it dominate the park's skyline. So I would add Missouri's first ever S&S Spin Shot Tower, which is a new thrill ride from S&S Sansei. This new tower ride would be 240 feet tall and feature one tower with your standard S&S 12-passenger cars, then the other tower with the Spin Shot car. This would give my park guests the option to choose which experience that they would prefer, plus give the park technically 2 new attractions in one, since both of these would provide completely different riding experiences. The new thrill ride would be located in between the Ninja and the Joker attraction. This would add a much needed thrill ride to the studio backlot area of the park, and this would bring some life to this area as well. For the 2026 season, all eyes would be on the DC Comics Plaza area of Six Flags St. Louis, because this is where I'd add the next thrill ride to the park. New for 2026 is Zamperla Discovery. As you can see here, I would place a new attraction in this area. This would really give this section of the park a great 1-2-3 punch, with Mr. Freeze, Justice League, and now the Giga Discovery. The new ride would feature a DC-themed name, and of course, the awesome lighting package. But riders will be blessed with amazing views of Mr. Freeze and the park's rapid ride, Thunder River, down below. After I focused on thrill rides for back-to-back years, it's time for the park to add its next ground-up roller coaster. And for this, I have 2 options that I want to share with you. Then whichever one you like better, share it with me in the comments. The first option would be you'd see the removal of the Ninja midway through the 2026 season, and this land would be used for a massive new Vekoma multi-launch coaster, very similar to Abyssus at Energylandia. This new Vekoma multi-launch coaster would feature the following stat line: height 160 feet, length 4,200 feet, speed 67 miles an hour, and 6 inversions. Here's the overlay so you can see how I would fit this massive coaster within the rest of the park. The coaster would feature 3 tunnels, a half-dozen airtime moments, and a 160-foot tall top hat that would give people walking from their cars to the park a great view of riders diving 90 degrees from the tallest point of the park's newest coaster. This new ride would feature notable inversions like an Immelman, 2 corkscrews, a giant batwing element, and a vertical loop. This new coaster would cost anywhere between $15 to $18 million, but you would definitely get the return on investment by the rising attendance for the park and greatly increased season pass sales. Plus, the good news is we've finally seen Ninja bite the dust, and I don't think any one of us will be complaining about it leaving. Now, it's time for my second option, a new hypercoaster. Since we're dealing with a budget here, I would have Chance Rides design me a terrain hyper that would take some inspiration from Phantom's Revenge. And if you haven't been on the Chance Hyper GTX coaster at Kentucky Kingdom, which is Lightning Run, I highly recommend it, because do not let the size of that coaster fool you, because it's an absolute must ride. So where would the park be able to fit this type of coaster? Well, I think the best spot would be where the park's old tidal wave water attraction once stood. And since the park is located on a hill, the more north you go, the higher the elevation is. So this would really provide a unique play with the layout for this hypercoaster. Here's my stat line for this iconic attraction for the park. Height 200 feet, drop 225 feet, length 4,700 feet, speed 74 miles an hour. This new coaster wouldn't feature your typical out and back style layout that most hypers offer. Instead, here's an overlay of what I would do. As you can see, the coaster would feature a twisting first drop to the left, right into a massive airtime hill. The rest of the coaster's layout would feature tons of small airtime hills, overbank turns, and a few other unique elements, with some parts running through the woods. Six Flags St. Louis needs a traditional hyper coaster, since I guess you can consider Mr. Freeze a hyper since the spike stands 218 feet tall. This park also desperately needs airtime. I've always thought a hyper would do great things for this park, and I don't think we would ever see a $25 million coaster make its way into the lineup. So a ride like this, that features mostly lower to the ground elements, and one that utilizes the park terrain, would really help make this coaster more affordable, since you're going to be using less supports and have a shorter track length. I predict that this hyper would cost anywhere from $15 to $18 million, give or take. So out of my 2 options for my new for 2027 coaster, which one do you like best? Which one do you think would do better for the park? Please let me know in the comments. Also, please share with me your 5-year plan for Six Flags St. Louis if you own the park. If you enjoyed this video, then please give it a like. That is the best way you can help my channel. And if you're not a Theme Park Predictions sub yet, then I hope you consider becoming my newest sub. I'd really appreciate it. As always, thank you so much for watching. Stay safe, stay positive, and keep riding coasters.